So when I say the word archaeology, what pops into your head? Probably a dusty adventurer with a whip, right? Raiding some lost temple for a golden idol? Well, what if I told you the real story is way more exciting? Today, we're going to dig past the Hollywood hype and get the real dirt on the science that tells us who we are. First things first, we've got to clear away some rubble, all the myths that have piled up around archaeology. Because honestly, what archaeologists really do is so much cooler and so much more important than anything you've seen in the movies. And look, you can't really blame anyone for thinking that. Movies have given us this incredibly vivid picture of archaeology as this thrilling hunt for treasure. And it makes for a great story, but it's just not the whole story. Okay, so here's the absolute most important thing to get straight. Archaeology is a serious science, not a blockbuster spectacle. And let me say it loud and clear for everyone in the back, no dinosaurs. Archaeologists study human history. Paleontologists, they're the dino people. It's a mix-up that drives archaeologists nuts, and for good reason. So if it's not dinosaurs and treasure, what is it? Well, officially, it's the study of human activity through the stuff we left behind, our material culture. And that's not just, golden idols. It's everything. The chipped pottery, the outlines of an ancient house, even the trash people threw out. Every single piece has a story to tell. Okay, so why does this matter so much? Because, and this is the big takeaway, archaeology is pretty much the only way we have to read the vast, vast majority of the human story, all the chapters that were never written down. Just let that number sink in for a second. 99%. Writing is a super recent invention in the grand scheme of things, just a few thousand years old. Everything before that, millions of years of human evolution. We call that prehistory. It's this huge, silent part of our past, and archaeology is the only thing that gives it a voice. And right here, this is a face from that silent 99%. This is the Tong child, one of our early human ancestors. Without the work of archaeologists, we would have no idea this individual ever existed. I mean, think about it. Our entire origin story is literally buried right under our feet. And just think about all the game-changing stuff that happened in that unwritten time. We're talking about figuring out how to control fire, inventing the very first tools, the moment we started farming. These were massive revolutions that shaped everything about who we are today. And we only know about them because of the patient work of archaeology. But, archaeology itself didn't just pop up fully formed. It had its own evolution, transforming from a hobby for rich guys into the careful, methodical science we know today. Let's take a look at how that happened. So before we had archaeology, we had something called antiquarianism. And antiquarians, well, they just liked old stuff. They were collectors. For them, the object was the prize. But modern archaeology is the total opposite. For a modern archaeologist, the most important thing isn't the object. It's the context. Where was it found? What was it found with? That's where the real story is. And this huge shift from treasure hunting to science? It was thanks to a few brilliant pioneers. You had guys like Pitt Rivers who said, hey, maybe we should record everything, not just the shiny gold stuff. Then Flinders Petrie figured out that you could date layers of dirt based on the pottery you found in them. And Sir Mortimer Wheeler's grid system finally gave them a way to map everything precisely. All of a sudden, digging wasn't just about finding cool stuff. It was about gathering data. It was becoming a real science. So those pioneers really set the stage. But today, oh man, the tools archaeologists have would have blown their minds. We've moved way beyond just a trowel and a brush. A lot of the time, the work starts way up in the air. From a plane or with a drone, you can see things that are completely invisible when you're on the ground. Faint shadows in a crop field can suddenly reveal the entire outline of a Roman fort, the ghost of a hidden landscape. It's incredible. And get this, before a single shovel hits the dirt, they can basically see underground. They use techniques like ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry to map what's buried. It's like giving the Earth an MRI. This lets them be incredibly precise, digging only where they know they'll find something, and leaving the rest of the site untouched. Now, when they do start digging, it's nothing like what you see in the movies. It is slow. It is meticulous. Just look at the precision in this photo. Every single find, down to a tiny seed, is mapped, photographed, and recorded. See, the goal isn't just to pull objects out of the ground anymore. It's to record information, the exact context for every piece of the puzzle. And back in the lab, the digital revolution has completely taken over. Drones can create a perfect 3D model of a site in just a few hours. We can use computer graphics to literally walk through ancient buildings that haven't stood for thousands of years. We can even run computer simulations to test ideas about how ancient people lived. It's amazing stuff. But finding cool stuff with high-tech gear isn't the end of the story. Not by a long shot. Archaeology today has a really big responsibility to protect the past, and it's facing some very real, very modern challenges. One of the biggest challenges is pseudo-archaeology. You know, all those ancient aliens shows. The difference is really simple. Real archaeology looks at all the evidence and builds a theory from there. Pseudo-archaeology starts with a crazy theory, like aliens built the pyramids, and then twists the evidence to fit it. It's basically junk science, and honestly, it does a huge disservice to the incredible intelligence and creativity of the actual people who built these things. And this image, wow, it really says it all, doesn't it? This is the choice we face. On the left, that's a looter's pit. Some object was ripped out of the ground to be sold, and in the process, all its history, all its context, it's just gone. Poof! A page of the human story torn out forever. And on the right, that's the goal of archaeology, to carefully recover our shared story and share it with everyone.
And all of this opens up these really big, really important ethical questions that archaeologists are dealing with right now. How do we stop the illegal trade of artifacts? How do we work with descendant communities whose ancestors were studying? Who gets to decide what happens to ancient human remains? These are tough questions with no easy answers, and they show just how connected archaeology is to the world we live in today.
You know, with all the drones and radar and big ethical debates, it's easy to forget what it all boils down to. But this quote, I think, just nails it. It's so simple. At its heart, archaeology is about care. Meticulous, patient care. Because any little thing could be the key to unlocking a huge part of our shared story. So where does that leave us? Well, with 99% of our histories still waiting in the ground, the room for discovery is just massive. The work is far from over. And that leaves us with one really exciting question. What's the next incredible chapter we're going to uncover about who we are?